Hey guys, welcome back to Margo Watches Movies. My name is Jake Margo. Tonight we're reviewing episode 5 of FX's The Lowdown, starring Ethan Hawke. I have absolutely loved the first 4 episodes of this show. I think it is probably the best show going on TV, at least that I'm watching right now. Episode 5 to me was another solidly consistent episode filled with laughs, a character introduction to the wonderful, the amazing Peter Dinklage playing an old friend of Lee Raybon, played by Ethan Hawke, named Wendell. I think he infuses the episode with a lot of energy, and it's nice to see Peter Dinklage having this much fun and being so uniquely different from his iconic performance in Game of Thrones as Tyrion Lannister. The plot certainly thickens this week. We open up with confirmation that yes, Arthur was killed at the end of last week's episode. Just an absolutely shocking death. There was this part of me that thought maybe we would like open up with him in a hospital with a villain of his nature. It takes a lot of cojones for a show like this to throw him away 4 episodes in, but this is a confident show with storytellers and writers firing on all cylinders. So I trust the route that they are taking us in. Now, that villain role seems to be inhabited a little bit more this episode by Donald Washburn, played, of course, by Kyle MacLachlan, Agent Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks. And he really starts to show the darker side of him. We've basically had 4 episodes leading up to this point of him in politician mode. He's obviously running for the governor of Oklahoma, and it's been a lot of handshakes and kisses and bad jokes to make his constituents laugh. But this episode really showcases there's a side to this guy that is dark, and he is certainly looking to align to Lee Raybon's suspicions about his role in all of this chaos unfolding. Now, the journey that we take in this episode is mostly contained to the 2 characters depicted on screen as Lee and Wendell attempt to find the land somewhere out in the Osage County that was found last episode. Now, I didn't really cover it last episode as well, but the reveal from Lee sleeping with Betty Jo, the widow of Brother Washburn, as I'll call him, and revealing that the child she had with him is actually Donnie Washburn, the gubernatorial candidate of Oklahoma, doesn't really get a lot of talk in this episode. You do see a brief glimpse of Lee trying to talk to Betty Jo's daughter, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But the big storyline this week, again, they're trying to locate this land that Lee has found. You have a couple other B and C plots, but the main storyline revolves around finding this land, which they eventually do. They find that it's owned by a company called White Elk LLC, which we do get confirmation can be traced back to Washburn. The running theory from Lee is that they're using this land to clean money that they are using as bribes to give to the governor. Now, you get in one of the other minor storylines, you get the gentleman that Lee was introduced to at the dinner at the very, very first episode. These 2 older white gentlemen that seem to be kind of people pulling the strings behind the curtain. They have this very interesting talk, the 2 gentlemen, one of them played by actor Frank Martin, at a gun range, firing guns, discussing the death of Arthur, which does loom heavy over this episode, where you get a sense that one of the gentlemen is in the know about that. So, as someone posted in the comments of last week's review, who shot Arthur, I think we're starting to get a better idea. We still don't have the full picture here, but I'm very much intrigued by this storyline, obviously, because it's really captivating television. And the momentum and the pacing of these episodes are so good. Time flies by. You have such brisk, well-written humor. You have such great great acting on display. I mean, what's not to love here? So continuing on, after those gentlemen's talks, you also have a storyline involving Keith David as he's on a date. I think it's probably the weakest part of the episode, just as far as progressing the plot forward and being interesting. You get to see him be on a date with this woman, and how his relationship with Donald Washburn is kind of affecting his personal life, I guess, is maybe what they're trying to show, because he is constantly getting his phone blown up by the governor, potential governor, and it starts to throw a wrench into his date. And maybe he realizes this because as the date ends, he sends him a text saying, "You need me in your circle. I want the job." So is he descending farther into darkness, or with the glimpse of him looking into Arthur's death, is he wanting to get closer to also find out the truth? It remains to be seen. He seems to be a real wild card to me, whether he'll end up helping Lee or being an antagonist to Lee. Now, the episode closes with this pretty batshit scene of Lee getting picked up by two obviously corrupt police officers, driven out into the boonies, into this kind of lucid, surreal hellscape filled with just police officers just partying like savages, just like frat kids. But there's this element to it that's interesting. It's surreal. It's weird. There's a slight bit of humor, but the director of this episode uses, especially in this scene, the way they light it with these hints of red mixed in with chaos, explosions going off all around. It's absolutely batshit. Just like, what is going on right now? You feel like you've stepped into a fever dream, with the reveal that Kyle MacLachlan is waiting for Lee Raybon. And as he steps out in the shadows, his face covered in red, you finally get yes, this guy is real evil. What does he have in store for Lee? We'll have to wait to find at the next episode. But all of that stuff I'm covering, again, there's a lot of plot in this episode and a lot of things moving. But at the center of it is this really, really good character study between these two old friends. The reason Wendell is visiting Lee is you find out that there's this tradition they have every year to honor the memory of one of their friends that overdosed, named Jesus. And these are clearly two guys that used to be best friends, and they seem to have grown apart. There's this distance, but Wendell shows up to honor this pact they made to honor their friend. Lee really doesn't even want to do it, and he's reluctantly dragged in as Wendell kind of joins the search for the land. And at the whole center of them embarking on this little mini odyssey is this kind of repair of friendship. And I thought their dynamic, the way they bounced off each other, these two just monumentally talented actors getting to just really, really bite their teeth into some really meaty material and showcase their acting chops. I really love that aspect. Now, I don't think overall, to me, it was quite as good of an episode as last week, though, again, it was still excellent. I'm still leaning in the 9 range. 9.2 is what I gave the episode last week. We're talking a 9, 10, 9, 1 this week. So overall, this is still just fantastic television. I cannot wait for another episode. I just wish it was all out already, though I do like week to week. I think that's just a sign of a good TV show. So, yeah, overall, I'll give this a 9.1 out of 10. Another great episode. We still haven't reached the peak of what this show can provide us, which is iconic television, I'm starting to feel like. So we'll see if we get there in the next couple episodes. But all in all, that's all for tonight, guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Did you like the episode? Did you like my review? Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. I'm 1 subscriber away from 100. Whoever wants to be a lucky 100, I'd appreciate you. But yeah, that's all for tonight. As always, guys, my name's Jake Margo. This is Margo Watches Movies. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.